When I opened that envelope, my entire world shattered into 1,000 pieces. I never imagined that the man I devoted 15 years of my life to could destroy me so completely. But what happened in that courtroom, what my 7-year-old daughter Lily did, changed everything I thought I knew about justice, love, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. That morning started like every other morning in our house. I woke up at 5:30, my internal alarm clock never failing me. The house was still dark and silent as I made my way downstairs, careful not to make a sound on the hardwood floors. Over the years, I'd learned to move like a ghost in my own home, an exhausting effort to keep the peace, to not disturb Marcus. By 6 I had the coffee brewing, the rich aroma filling our spacious kitchen. I'd prepared Marcus's favorite breakfast, scrambled eggs with chives, perfectly crispy bacon, and whole wheat toast with just a thin layer of butter, exactly how he liked it. The morning light was just beginning to filter through our bay windows when I heard his footsteps on the stairs. Marcus appeared in the kitchen doorway, looking impeccable as always in his freshly pressed shirt and tailored pants. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his expensive watch catching the light. He'd always been handsome, the kind of man who turned heads when he walked into a room. That's what had first attracted me to him all those years ago at that college party. Now that same handsome face barely glanced in my direction. "Good morning, honey," I said softly, placing his coffee mug and breakfast plate on the table with practiced precision. Marcus sat down without looking at me. His eyes were already fixed on his phone screen, his thumb scrolling through emails or messages or whatever was more important than acknowledging his wife's existence. He took a sip of coffee, and his face tightened. "Coffee's bitter today, Lauren." My stomach clenched. "I'm sorry. I thought I measured it exactly like always. I can make a fresh pot." "Don't bother. I don't have time." He pushed the plate away slightly, eating only a few bites of eggs before setting his fork down. The rejection of the meal I'd woken up early to prepare stung more than it should have. It was such a small thing, but these small things had been accumulating for months, maybe years, building into a mountain of hurt I tried desperately to ignore. I stood near the table, my hands clasped in front of me, waiting for what? I didn't even know anymore. A kind word? A smile? Any acknowledgement that I was more than just the hired help. "Is Lily up yet?" Marcus asked, his tone flat. "Yes, she's getting dressed. She'll be down in a few minutes." Sure enough, moments later, I heard the patter of small feet racing down the stairs. Lily burst into the kitchen, her blonde hair still slightly damp from her shower, her school uniform neat but her shoelaces untied. At 7 years old, she was pure joy and energy, the only bright spot in this cold house. "Good morning, Mommy." She threw her arms around me, and I hugged her tight, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo. Then she bounced over to Marcus. "Good morning, Daddy." For the first time that morning, Marcus's expression softened. He put down his phone and smiled at Lily, a genuine smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. "Good morning, Princess. Eat your breakfast quickly. Daddy's taking you to school today." Lily's eyes lit up. "Really? Yay! I'm going with Daddy." I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. At least Marcus still showed warmth to our daughter. At least Lily still had that. This brief breakfast time was the only family moment we had anymore, and even that was strained, held together by our shared love for the little girl between us. Lily finished her cereal and orange juice, chattering about the spelling test she had that day and how she'd studied all her words. I listened, asking questions, encouraging her. Marcus checked his phone intermittently, but he was present enough to nod and respond to Lily's excitement. When breakfast was over, Marcus stood abruptly, grabbed his briefcase, and kissed Lily on the forehead. "Let's go, Princess. Don't want to be late." He walked past me toward the front door. No goodbye, no kiss, not even a glance. Just the sound of his expensive leather shoes on the hardwood, then the door closing, then his car engine starting, then silence. I stood in the kitchen surrounded by dirty dishes, the half-eaten breakfast, the bitter coffee I'd failed to make correctly. This was my life now. I cleared the table mechanically, loaded the dishwasher, wiped down the counters until they gleamed. The house was enormous, far too big for just 3 people, but Marcus had insisted. "We need to show success," he'd said when we bought it 5 years ago. "Image matters in my business." I spent the rest of the morning in my routine. Laundry, vacuuming, dusting, organizing. I'd given up my job as a marketing coordinator 8 years ago when Lily was born. Marcus had insisted. "Our child needs her mother," he'd said. "We don't need your income. I make plenty. You should focus on making our home perfect." So I had. I'd devoted myself to being the perfect wife, the perfect mother, the perfect homemaker. I kept our house immaculate. I cooked elaborate meals. I managed Lily's schedule, her playdates, her activities. I did everything right. So why did it feel like I was disappearing, becoming less and less visible in my own life? At 2:30, I drove to Lily's private school to pick her up. This was my favorite part of every day. The moment I saw her running toward me with her backpack bouncing, her face lit up with joy. Something in my chest loosened. "Mommy, Mommy, I got all my spelling words right. Mrs. Henderson gave me a gold star." "That's amazing, sweetheart." I knelt down and hugged her tight. "I'm so proud of you. My smart girl. Can we get ice cream to celebrate?" I hesitated. Marcus monitored our grocery budget closely, questioned every expense. But looking at Lily's hopeful face, I couldn't say no. "Of course we can, baby." We stopped at the little ice cream shop near the school, and I watched Lily's joy as she ate her chocolate chip cone, telling me about her best friend, Sarah, and the game they'd played at recess. These moments, these simple perfect moments with my daughter, made everything else bearable. When we arrived home, I was helping Lily take off her shoes when I heard a motorcycle pull up outside. A courier was standing at the door, a large brown envelope in his hands. "Lauren Mitchell?" "Yes, that's me. Sign here, please." I signed the electronic pad, my heart already beginning to race. I hadn't ordered anything. There was no return address, just the logo of a law firm in the corner. My hands started trembling as I took the envelope. "Who is it, Mommy?" Lily asked, peering around me. "Just some mail, sweetie. Why don't you go upstairs and change, then you can watch your show before homework time?" "Okay." She ran upstairs, her footsteps echoing through the house. I stood in the foyer staring at the envelope, like it might explode. My instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. I walked slowly to the living room and sank onto the couch, my fingers shaking as I tore open the seal. Inside was a thick stack of legal documents. My eyes scanned the first page, and the words seemed to jump out at me, each one a physical blow. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Plaintiff, Marcus James Mitchell. Defendant, Lauren Ann Mitchell. Grounds, wife has completely failed in fulfillment of marital duties and responsibilities as spouse and mother. The room started spinning. I couldn't breathe. I read it again, hoping my eyes were deceiving me, that this was some terrible mistake. But there it was, in black and white, legal text. Marcus was divorcing me. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely turn the pages, but I forced myself to keep reading. What I saw in those pages destroyed me more than the divorce itself. Marcus wasn't just asking for a divorce. He was asking for everything. Full custody of Lily with the claim that I was emotionally unstable and unfit to raise a child properly. All marital assets including this house, with the argument that I hadn't contributed financially, and everything was solely the result of his hard work. He was leaving me with nothing, not even our daughter. I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air that wouldn't come. My vision blurred with tears. Failed? How had I failed? I'd given up everything for this family. My career, my independence, my identity. I'd spent 15 years making sure Marcus's shirts were perfectly pressed, his meals were hot, his home was spotless. I'd raised Lily, attended every school event, every doctor's appointment, Every bedtime story. What did he mean I'd failed? I kept reading through my tears, and it got worse. So much worse. There were photographs. Photos of our house, but not the way I kept it. These photos showed dishes piled in the sink, toys scattered everywhere, laundry overflowing from baskets, a messy kitchen. My mind raced, trying to remember when these could have been taken. Then it hit me. 2 months ago, I'd been sick with a terrible flu, bedridden for 3 days with a high fever. I'd begged Marcus to help with the housework, but he'd said he was too busy with an important project at work. The house had gotten messy because I literally couldn't get out of bed, and he'd photographed it. He'd documented my sickness as evidence of my failure. There were credit card statements too, showing thousands of dollars in charges, luxury handbags, expensive jewelry, fancy restaurant meals. But I hadn't bought any of these things. I never bought anything for myself. Marcus had an additional card in my name that he used sometimes, but I'd trusted him. Now I saw how stupid that trust had been. And then the worst part. An expert witness report from a child psychologist named Dr. Brooke Henderson. Page after page of clinical observations claiming I was emotionally volatile, neglectful of Lily's needs, creating a harmful environment for a child's development. The report recommended full custody to Marcus for Lily's psychological well-being. I'd never met any Dr. Brooke Henderson. I'd never been observed by any psychologist. This was all lies. All of it. But it looked so official, so professional, so convincing. I collapsed onto the floor, the papers scattering around me. My whole body was shaking with sobs. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. The front door opened. Marcus was home early, something that never happened. He stood in the doorway, looking at me crumpled on the floor, surrounded by legal documents. His expression was cold, empty, no guilt, no remorse, no emotion at all. Marcus, I choked out through my tears. What is this? What does this mean? He walked in slowly, closing the door behind him. He loosened his tie, his movements casual, like we were discussing the weather. It means exactly what it says, Lauren. I want a divorce. This isn't working anymore. But why? I don't understand. What did I do wrong? You really have to ask. His voice was cold, distant. Look at yourself. You're pathetic. All you do is sit around this house all day. You've let yourself go. You're boring. You're useless. Each word was a knife in my chest. I gave up my career for you. For us. For Lily. You asked me to. And what a waste that was. He laughed. A cruel sound. You think keeping house makes you valuable? Anyone can do that. I need a partner, Lauren. Someone successful. Someone impressive. You're just dead weight. And Lily. You're taking Lily from me? My voice broke. She's my daughter. I'm a good mother. Are you? Marcus crouched down, his face close to mine. My lawyers have gathered plenty of evidence showing otherwise. Those photos, those credit card bills. The expert testimony. You won't win, Lauren. You're going to lose everything. This is insane. Those photos were when I was sick. Those charges aren't mine. That psychologist, I've never even met her. This is all fabricated. Prove it. Marcus stood up, smoothing his suit. My lawyers say you don't have a case. And here's the best part. He smiled. And it was the most chilling expression I'd ever seen. Even your own daughter will testify about what a terrible mother you are. My blood turned to ice. What are you talking about? Lily will tell the judge how you yell at her, how you ignore her, how you're always sad and angry. Kids are very impressionable, Lauren. They believe what you tell them. You're poisoning her against me. She's 7 years old. She's smart enough to know the truth. And the truth is, you're not fit to be her mother. He walked to the stairs, then paused. Oh, and don't bother trying to hire some expensive lawyer. I've already moved all our money. You're broke, Lauren. Completely broke. You can't fight me even if you wanted to. Then he went upstairs, leaving me shattered on the floor. That night was the longest of my life. Marcus locked himself in the guest room like I was some kind of threat. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what he'd said, about Lily testifying against me, about how he'd been manipulating our daughter, my baby girl. Around midnight, I crept into Lily's room. She was sleeping peacefully, her blonde hair spread across the pillow, her face serene. I sat in the chair beside her bed and watched her breathe, tears streaming silently down my face. How could Marcus use her like this? How could he turn our child into a weapon against me? The next morning, Marcus acted like nothing had happened. He woke Lily, got her ready for school, took her to breakfast at her favorite diner. I wasn't invited. When they left, Lily called out, "Bye, Mommy." But Marcus had already closed the car door. I watched them drive away, feeling utterly alone. I knew I had to fight. I couldn't just give up. But how? I grabbed my phone and started searching for divorce lawyers. The consultations alone cost hundreds of dollars I didn't have. I needed a retainer, probably thousands. Where was I going to get that kind of money? With trembling hands, I opened the banking app on my phone. We had a joint account, our family emergency fund. There should have been almost $100,000 in there from years of Marcus's bonuses and savings. I logged in. The screen loaded, and my heart stopped. Balance, $0.00. I refreshed the page, checked again. Zero. I opened the transaction history, and what I saw made me feel physically sick. Over the past 6 months, Marcus had systematically withdrawn money, transferring it to accounts I didn't recognize. The last transfer had been 3 days ago, emptying everything that remained. He'd planned this. He'd been planning this for months, maybe longer, cutting off my access to money so I couldn't fight back. I was trapped. I ran to our bedroom, to my jewelry box. Maybe I could sell my wedding jewelry, the pieces my grandmother had left me. But when I opened the box, it was empty. Just a few cheap costume pieces remained. Marcus had taken everything of value. I sank onto the bed, completely defeated. How could I fight him with no money, no lawyer, no resources? He'd thought of everything. Then, I remembered something. An old friend from college, Jessica, who worked at a legal aid organization. I found her number and called, my voice shaking as I explained what was happening. Jessica listened, and I could hear the pity in her voice. "Lauren, I wish I could help directly, but legal aid doesn't usually handle divorce cases like this. But I know someone. His name is Attorney Daniel Harrison. He has a small practice. He's not expensive and he's honest. He takes payment plans sometimes. It's worth a shot." She gave me the address. I didn't have a choice. This was my only option. Attorney Harrison's office was in an old strip mall, up a narrow staircase with peeling paint. The office itself was small and cluttered with files, nothing like the sleek corporate law offices I'd imagined. Attorney Harrison was a middle-aged man, with kind eyes behind thick glasses. He was black, with graying hair and a gentle manner that immediately put me at ease. He listened to my entire story without interrupting. When I finished, tears streaming down my face, he leaned back in his chair and sighed heavily. "Lauren, I'm going to be straight with you. This is going to be an uphill battle. Your husband has prepared this very carefully. He's not just divorcing you. He's trying to destroy you." "I know, but I don't care about the house or the money. I just want Lily. Please, I'll pay you somehow. Installments, whatever it takes. Just help me keep my daughter." Attorney Harrison studied me for a long moment. "Let's worry about payment later. Right now, we need to move fast. This petition has already been filed. We need to respond immediately." He left the room and returned with a folder full of documents, copies of Marcus's legal filing. "Your husband's attorney is Lawrence Sterling. He's known for being aggressive and not afraid to use dirty tactics." He opened the folder. "Let's see what evidence they've presented." We went through it all. "The photographs." Attorney Harrison shook his head. "These are clearly taken out of context." "When were these from?" 2 months ago, when I had the flu, I was bedridden with a high fever for 3 days. Marcus refused to help with housework. He took these photos while I was sick. That's what I thought. But it's manipulated to make you look negligent. The credit card statements. I didn't buy any of these things. That's an additional card in my name, but Marcus used it. He said his main card had reached the limit. I trusted him. Attorney Harrison's jaw tightened. He set you up. Every single thing was planned. Then we got to the expert witness report. Dr. Brooke Henderson's psychological evaluation. Page after page of damning observations and conclusions. This is the most dangerous piece. Attorney Harrison said grimly. Do you know this woman? I shook my head. I've never met her. Never even heard of her before. According to this report, she observed you in public places. Parks, shopping centers, school pickup. She claims your interactions with Lily show emotional instability and neglect. That's insane. Lily is always happy with me. We have a great relationship. Attorney Harrison looked at the credentials listed. Dr. Brooke Henderson, licensed psychologist. Very professional-looking documentation. This is going to be hard to refute. Reality was setting in. Marcus had built an airtight case against me. All fabricated, all lies, but so well documented that it looked real. How was I supposed to fight this? The next few weeks were torture. Living in the same house with Marcus was psychological warfare. He'd moved into the guest room permanently but hadn't moved out. I had to see him every day. This man who was trying to destroy me, who was manipulating our daughter, and he was so good at it. In front of Lily, Marcus was the perfect father. He started coming home earlier, something he hadn't done in years. He brought expensive gifts. One evening, he came home with a huge box. Lily, come here, princess. Daddy got you something special. Lily ran down the stairs, her eyes wide with excitement. Marcus pulled out a brand new tablet, the latest model, with a pink glittery case. This is for you, sweetheart. It's much better than that old broken one. Better camera, better games. Daddy installed all your favorite apps. Wow, thank you, Daddy. Lily threw her arms around him. I was folding laundry in the living room, my hands frozen on a towel. My heart ached. He was buying her love. I couldn't compete. I didn't have a single dollar to buy Lily anything. Marcus looked at me over Lily's head, his expression smug. See, princess, when you live with Daddy, you'll get new things all the time. Not like some people who just fold clothes all day. The dig was intentional, meant to hurt. It worked, but I couldn't react, couldn't get angry. If I did, it would just prove his claims that I was emotionally unstable. It continued day after day. Marcus undermined everything I did. If I cooked dinner, he'd taste it and say in front of Lily, "It's a little bland, honey. Maybe we should order pizza tomorrow instead." If I helped Lily with homework, Marcus would interrupt. "Let me show you, princess. Mommy's way is too complicated. You'll get confused." I was becoming invisible in my own home, erased by my husband's systematic destruction of my authority as a mother. Lily was caught in the middle, loving both of us, but clearly confused by the tension. Sometimes she'd cling to me like always, but other times she seemed uncertain, especially after Marcus whispered things to her I couldn't hear. One night, I couldn't sleep. I went to check on Lily, to make sure she was okay. I opened her door quietly. She was sleeping soundly. On her desk was the new expensive tablet Marcus had bought. But as I got closer to tuck her blanket in, I noticed something odd. Lily's hand was clutching something under her pillow. Not her usual teddy bear. I looked closer, my heart squeezing. It was her old tablet, the cheap one with the cracked screen, the one I told her to stop using because the broken glass might cut her. Why was Lily still keeping this broken tablet? Why hide it under her pillow when she had the fancy new one? I didn't understand. I thought it was just a child's attachment to an old toy. I had no idea that broken tablet was about to save my life. The breaking point came a few days later. I was supposed to pick Lily up from school at 3. But when I arrived, the teacher told me Lily had already been picked up by her father. My blood ran cold. Marcus hadn't told me anything. I called him over and over. No answer. Hours passed. 3 o'clock became 5, then 7, then 9. I was losing my mind, pacing the house, imagining worst-case scenarios. Had he taken her? Was he running away with her? Finally, at 9:30 at night, I heard his car. Lily came bouncing in, laughing, carrying bags from an amusement park. Behind her, Marcus walked in casually, that smug smirk on his face. "Where have you been?" I shouted, all my fear and anger exploding. "Why did you take Lily without telling me?" I was terrified. "Daddy took me to Funland, Mommy. It was amazing. We rode the roller coaster 3 times. Marcus looked at me coldly. "What's the problem? She's my daughter too. I have a right to take her places. You should have told me. I had no idea where she was." "Why? So you could ruin our fun with your drama?" That's when I smelled it. Perfume. A woman's perfume. Sweet and floral, clinging to Marcus's shirt. It wasn't my perfume. It wasn't anything I recognized. I stared at him, and he saw the realization in my eyes. He waited until Lily ran upstairs to put away her amusement park prizes. Then he stepped close to me, his voice low and venomous. "Did you figure it out? There's another woman, Lauren. Did you really think I'd stay married to someone as boring as you forever? She's successful, intelligent, beautiful. Everything you're not." The words hit me like physical blows. "Who is she?" "None of your business. Just know that she's a real woman. Not some pathetic housewife who can't even make coffee right." That night, after Marcus went to the guest room, Lily came to find me. I was in my bedroom, crying into my pillow. "Mommy? Why are you sad?" I wiped my tears quickly. "I'm okay, baby. Just a headache." Lily looked at me with those big innocent eyes. "Daddy says you're sick. He says you get sad and angry a lot. He says if I go live with him, you can rest and feel better." My heart shattered into pieces. Marcus had been poisoning her mind, making her think leaving me was an act of kindness. I pulled Lily into my arms, hugging her tight. "Baby, listen to me. I'm not sick. I just love you so much. You're my whole world." But I could see the confusion in her eyes. The damage was already done. The mediation hearing was a nightmare. We sat in a small conference room, with a court-appointed mediator, trying to find common ground. There was no common ground. Attorney Harrison started calmly. "My client is asking for custody of her daughter, or at minimum, shared custody. As for property division, we're willing to negotiate." Before he could finish, Marcus's attorney Lawrence Sterling, a shark in an expensive suit, cut him off sharply. "There's nothing to negotiate. Our client's position is clear. Lauren Mitchell has failed as a wife and mother. The evidence is overwhelming. Our client seeks full custody for the child's well-being." Marcus sat beside him, his face blank, playing the victim perfectly. "I only want what's best for my daughter." I was trembling. Attorney Sterling sneered at me. "If you insist on going to trial, we will present every piece of evidence we have. The photos, the financial records, the expert testimony. You will be humiliated. Our client is being generous by allowing you to walk away with no countersuit. Take the deal. Walk away with nothing? Not even my daughter? Are you insane?" I started crying despite myself. The mediation collapsed. As we left, Attorney Harrison squeezed my shoulder. "Stay strong, Lauren. The real fight is just beginning." The trial date arrived faster than I was ready for. I barely slept the night before, my stomach twisted in knots. Attorney Harrison had prepared me as best he could, reminding me over and over to stay calm no matter what happened. The courtroom was intimidating. High ceilings, dark wood paneling, rows of benches that felt like they were judging me before the trial even began. Marcus sat on the opposite side with Attorney Sterling, looking confident and composed in an expensive navy suit. I felt small in my simple dress, the nicest thing I owned that hadn't been bought years ago. The judge entered, an older man with gray hair and a stern expression. Everyone stood. My legs felt weak. Court is now in session. The matter of Mitchell versus Mitchell, petition for dissolution of marriage and custody determination. Attorney Sterling went first. He was smooth, polished, his voice carrying authority through the courtroom. He painted a picture of Marcus as a hard-working, devoted father, married to a negligent, unstable woman. He presented the photographs of my messy house on the large monitor, making them look damning. Your Honor, while my client worked tirelessly to provide for his family, the defendant spent her days neglecting basic household duties, and more importantly, neglecting their daughter's needs. He showed the credit card statements next. Here we see thousands of dollars in frivolous purchases, designer handbags, expensive jewelry, luxury dinners, all while claiming she needed to stay home to care for their child. I wanted to scream that it was all lies, that Marcus had used that card, that those photos were taken when I was sick. But all I could do was sit there, my hands clenched under the table, as Attorney Harrison touched my arm reassuringly. And now, Your Honor, we call our expert witness. Dr. Brooke Henderson, licensed clinical psychologist specializing in child development. The courtroom doors opened, and she walked in. Dr. Brooke Henderson. I held my breath as I saw her for the first time. She was beautiful, elegant, probably in her early 30s. Professional blazer, hair pulled back perfectly, walking with confident strides. She looked nothing like the evil woman I'd imagined. She looked credible, trustworthy, exactly like someone a judge would believe. As she raised her hand to take the oath, I caught it, that perfume. The same sweet floral scent that had been on Marcus's shirt that night. My heart stopped. It was her. She was Marcus's mistress. She had to be. Dr. Henderson sat in the witness box, her posture perfect, her expression calm and professional. Attorney Sterling approached her with practiced ease. Dr. Henderson, can you explain your involvement in this case? Yes. I was retained to conduct naturalistic observations of Mrs. Mitchell's interactions with her daughter Lily over a 3-month period. Her voice was smooth, educated, convincing. And what did your observations reveal? Dr. Henderson opened a leather portfolio, consulting notes that looked meticulously prepared. I observed concerning patterns. Mrs. Mitchell displayed significant emotional volatility. In one instance at a shopping mall, I witnessed her grabbing Lily forcefully and speaking to her in a raised, harsh tone, causing the child to cry in front of other shoppers. This demonstrates poor emotional regulation and inappropriate anger management. My mind raced back. I remembered that day. Lily had almost run onto a down escalator without looking, nearly falling. I'd grabbed her arm and shouted in panic, terrified she'd get hurt. It wasn't anger, it was fear for my child's safety. But Dr. Henderson had twisted it into abuse. In another observation at a public park, she continued, I noted Mrs. Mitchell was absorbed in her mobile phone, ignoring Lily who was playing alone. When Lily fell from the play equipment, Mrs. Mitchell's reaction was delayed and then excessively dramatic, which further traumatized the child about a minor incident. Another lie. I'd been texting a grocery list, Marcus had demanded. When Lily tripped, I'd immediately run to her, comforted her, checked for injuries. I was being a concerned mother, not hysterical. Based on these and other observations, Dr. Henderson concluded, her eyes fixed on the judge with unwavering confidence, it is my professional opinion that Mrs. Mitchell lacks the emotional stability necessary to provide a healthy environment for a 7-year-old child. I observed signs of what we call parental emotional dysregulation, where the parent's unresolved psychological issues negatively impact the child. For Lily's mental health and development, I strongly recommend full custody be granted to her father, Mr. Mitchell, who presents as the more stable parental figure. The room was silent. Her testimony was devastating, scientific, professional, utterly convincing. I felt tears streaming down my face. That's not true, I whispered to Attorney Harrison. It's all lies? She's his mistress. That's her perfume. She's the one. I know, Attorney Harrison whispered back tensely. But we need proof. Calm down. Don't react. That's exactly what they want. Attorney Harrison stood for cross-examination. He tried his best. Dr. Henderson, isn't it unusual to make such serious diagnoses based solely on distant observations in public places? Dr. Henderson smiled slightly. Her response practiced. On the contrary, counselor, naturalistic observation without the subject's awareness provides the most accurate data. There's no performance, no manipulation. It's pure authentic behavior. You were paid by Mr. Mitchell for this testimony, correct? I was compensated for my professional services, not for my conclusions. My findings are objective and based on established psychological principles and field observations. She was too smooth, too prepared. Attorney Harrison couldn't find an opening. She'd covered every angle. The trial adjourned for the day. I left the courtroom feeling destroyed. As I walked through the lobby, I saw Marcus and Dr. Henderson standing together near the windows. They were maintaining professional distance, but there was something in the way he looked at her. The way she smiled at him. It confirmed everything. In the parking lot, I collapsed against Attorney Harrison's car, sobbing. We lost. They have everything. Attorney Harrison was quiet for a moment, watching Marcus and Dr. Henderson through the courthouse windows. Not yet, Lauren. Something's wrong. The way she looks at him when she thinks no one's watching. That's not how a professional psychologist looks at a client. He turned to me. We need to find out who she really is. Over the next few days, Attorney Harrison investigated Dr. Henderson's background. When he called me to his office, he looked frustrated and tired. Lauren, I tried. I ran every check I could. Her credentials are legitimate. She's registered with the State Psychological Association. She has a practice, a license, publications. Everything checks out. My hope crashed. So we can't prove she's lying? We can't prove she's not a psychologist. But that doesn't mean her testimony is truthful. The only way forward is for you to testify. Tell your side. But Lauren, you have to stay calm. Attorney Sterling will try to provoke you. He'll want you to look exactly like Dr. Henderson described you. The day came. After being sworn in, I sat in the witness box, my heart pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Attorney Harrison started with gentle questions, walking me through my life as a stay-at-home mother, my daily routine, my relationship with Lily. Lauren, can you explain the context of these photographs of your home? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. Those photos were taken about 2 months ago. I was extremely ill with a high fever and flu symptoms for 3 days. I could barely get out of bed. I asked Marcus to help with the household tasks, but he said he was too busy with work. The house got messy because I was physically unable to clean. I didn't have the energy. Some people in the gallery began whispering. I saw a few sympathetic looks. And the credit card charges. That's an additional card in my name. But Marcus had possession of it most of the time. He told me his primary card often reached its limit with business expenses. I trusted him. I never made those purchases. I didn't even know about them until I saw them in the divorce documents. I was being honest, laying out the truth as clearly as I could. But then Attorney Sterling stood up for his turn, and I felt my stomach drop. Mrs. Mitchell, he began, his tone dripping with false sympathy. So you're saying your husband set you up? That he deliberately took photos to make you look bad? That he used a credit card in your name without your knowledge? I'm saying what happened. It sounds like you're blaming your husband for everything. The messy house is his fault. The credit card charges are his fault. Nothing is your responsibility. Is that your testimony? That's not what I'm saying. I'm explaining. You claim you were too sick to clean. Do you have medical records? A doctor's note? Any proof you were gravely ill for 3 days? I hesitated. No, I didn't go to the doctor. I took over-the-counter medication. I thought I would recover on my own. So there's no proof? It's just your word against photographic evidence. Interesting. Attorney Sterling moved closer, his expression sharpening. Let's talk about the credit card. It's in your name, correct? Yes, but did you ever report to the credit card company that it was being misused? No. Did you ever confront your husband about these purchases? No, I trusted. You said nothing. You did nothing. Doesn't that suggest you either approved of these purchases or were too negligent to pay attention to your own financial accounts? I trusted my husband, I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. Blind trust that destroyed your family's finances and now you blame him. Attorney Sterling walked back to his table and picked up a large printed photograph. He held it up for everyone to see. Your Honor, I'd like to present exhibit. My blood turned cold. It was a photo of me in my bedroom, taken a few weeks before the divorce papers arrived. My hair was messy, my face red and tear-streaked. Caught mid-scream, I looked unhinged. Mrs. Mitchell, can you explain this photograph? Attorney Sterling's voice was triumphant. I was shaking. That night, Marcus came home. Isn't this proof of exactly what Dr. Henderson described? Emotional volatility, instability. This is the face of a competent mother. You don't understand. My voice cracked, tears flowing freely now. That night, Marcus came home and told me I was worthless. He said I was a burden. He said I didn't deserve to be Lily's mother. He said horrible, cruel things. He provoked me deliberately. So you admit it. You admit you screamed. You lost control. You became hysterical. Exactly as Dr. Henderson testified. No. I stood up from the witness chair, my composure completely shattered. He set me up. He took that photo secretly after hurting me emotionally. He's been manipulating everything. He's cruel. He's destroying me on purpose. Enough. The judge's gavel struck hard. Witness, sit down and control yourself. I collapsed back into the chair, sobbing, my shoulders shaking. I'd done exactly what Marcus and Attorney Sterling wanted. I'd looked unstable, emotional, out of control. I'd proven their case for them. I glanced toward Marcus. He had his head down, his expression arranged in false sadness, as if he were the wounded party, the victim of his unstable wife. Attorney Sterling smiled with satisfaction. No further questions, Your Honor. That day ended in total defeat. Attorney Harrison tried to comfort me as we left, but I felt numb, hollow. It was over. I knew it was over. That night was the darkest of my entire life. The sentencing hearing was scheduled for the next day. I was going to lose Lily. There was no way around it now. I'd destroyed my own case by breaking down on the stand. I went into Lily's room after she'd fallen asleep. Marcus wasn't home. Probably out celebrating his upcoming victory with Brooke. I sat on the edge of Lily's bed, stroking her soft blonde hair, watching her peaceful face in the moonlight coming through the window. Tears fell silently onto her cheek, and she stirred slightly. Mommy, she murmured, half asleep. Shh, baby, go back to sleep. I hugged her tight, breathing in her scent, memorizing this moment. Maybe it would be my last night as her full-time mother. I want you to know, I whispered, my voice breaking. Whatever happens tomorrow, Mommy loves you more than anything in this world. Always. Forever. No matter what. Lily, sensing my sadness even in her sleepy state, hugged me back tightly. I love you too, Mommy. As I tucked her back in, I noticed it again. That old, cracked tablet, the corner peeking out from under her pillow. Lily's hand moved to clutch it protectively even in sleep. Why was she so attached to that broken thing? But I was too destroyed to think about it. I kissed her forehead one last time, and left to face what might be the end of my world. The next morning, the courtroom felt colder than ever. The air was heavy, suffocating. I sat rigidly in my chair, my eyes puffy and hollow from a sleepless night. Beside me, Attorney Harrison sat with a somber expression. He'd fought hard, but we both knew we were facing an impossible battle. On the opposite side, Marcus looked fresh and confident in a crisp new suit. He exchanged quiet words with Attorney Sterling, occasionally smiling. Victory was within his grasp. In the gallery, I spotted Dr. Brooke Henderson. She sat elegantly in a cream-colored dress, looking at me with barely concealed satisfaction. The woman who'd lied under oath, who was sleeping with my husband, who was helping destroy my life. The judge entered. Everyone stood. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. Court is in session. In the matter of Mitchell versus Mitchell, divorce petition, and custody determination, we are here for closing arguments and ruling. Attorney Sterling stood first, summarizing his case with practiced skill. Your Honor, throughout this trial, we've presented irrefutable evidence, photographic proof of Mrs. Mitchell's neglect of household responsibilities, financial proof of her irresponsibility, and most significantly, expert testimony from Dr. Brooke Henderson, who objectively documented the defendant's emotional instability. He pointed at me dramatically. We even witnessed Mrs. Mitchell's hysterical conduct in this very courtroom during her testimony, which corroborated Dr. Henderson's professional diagnosis. Your Honor, this isn't about punishing a wife. This is about protecting a child. For Lily's well-being, we respectfully request you grant full custody to our client, Mr. Marcus Mitchell, and approve the requested division of assets. Attorney Sterling sat down, looking smug. Now it was Attorney Harrison's turn. He stood slowly, looking around the courtroom before addressing the judge. Your Honor, he began, his voice soft but firm. What we've witnessed here isn't evidence, it's character assassination. A carefully orchestrated campaign of defamation. Photographs can lie. You can photograph the kitchen of the world's best chef at the wrong moment and make it look filthy. Financial statements can be manipulated, especially when one party has complete financial control and the other's trust. And expert testimony from distant observations, drawing extreme conclusions from isolated moments taken out of context, should never outweigh 15 years of devoted motherhood. Attorney Harrison looked directly at Marcus. Your Honor, we're not protecting a child here. We're witnessing a man trying to discard his wife, steal her assets, and cruelly take away the one thing most precious to her, her daughter. Lauren Mitchell is a good mother. She's not perfect. No parent is. But she has dedicated her entire life to Lily. Please do not let this well-constructed defamation destroy that bond. I urge you to see through these manipulations and judge with conscience and wisdom. He sat down. The room was quiet. His argument had been excellent, emotional, heartfelt. But I knew it wasn't enough. Attorney Harrison's case was built on belief and appeals to emotion. Attorney Sterling's case was built on documents, photographs, and expert testimony. In a court of law, I knew which one would win. The judge cleared his throat, adjusted his glasses, and opened the thick file in front of him. This was it. The moment that would determine the rest of my life. Having reviewed all documents submitted by both parties, having heard all testimony, and having considered all evidence presented, the judge began in a measured tone. The court notes that the plaintiff, Mr. Mitchell, has been successful in presenting substantial evidence. My heart sank. I closed my eyes, unable to watch. First, the photographic evidence demonstrated concerning issues with household management. Second, the financial evidence showed significant spending on the credit card in the defendant's name. And most significantly, the judge's voice seemed to seal my fate. The testimony of expert witness Dr. Brooke Henderson regarding Mrs. Mitchell's emotional state was compelling. This testimony was, unfortunately, reinforced by the defendant's own conduct during her testimony in this court, providing a very troubling picture of the psychological environment for the child. I began crying silently. It was over. Everything was over. Marcus looked at me, and a slight smile of victory appeared at the corner of his mouth. Behind him, Brooke sat up straighter, ready to celebrate. Therefore, with all considerations mentioned, and especially for the best interest and mental health of the minor child Lily, the judge raised his gavel. The court rules. Stop! The voice was small, but it cut through the silence of the courtroom, like a knife. It was clear and sharp, and came from the back of the room. Everyone's heads turned in unison toward the sound. Standing in the slightly open doorway at the back of the courtroom was Lily. She was alone, still in her school uniform. She must have snuck away somehow. Marcus's face transformed from triumph to shock to pure panic in seconds. Lily, what are you doing here? Get out. Now. Bailiff, Attorney Sterling jumped up. Your Honor, this is a procedural violation. A minor should not be in this courtroom. Have her removed immediately. But Lily didn't move. She walked into the courtroom, her small footsteps echoing on the marble floor. She didn't look at me, though I was frozen in shock with my mouth open. She didn't look at Marcus, who was standing now, his face pale. She looked directly at the judge. The gavel that had been about to fall remained suspended in midair. The judge's eyes widened, staring at this 7-year-old girl who'd just interrupted his ruling. Lily, Marcus's voice rose, losing all composure. Turn around right now. This isn't a place for children. Bailiff, how did a child get in here? Lily flinched at her father's shout, but she didn't back down. Instead, she walked deeper into the room, past the gallery, past the lawyers' tables, stopping in the center of the courtroom. Your Honor, Attorney Sterling was nearly shouting. This is outrageous. This trial is confidential. Please order your staff to remove the child. I was still frozen, paralyzed. Part of me was breaking apart seeing Lily in this horrible place. The other part was terrified. What was she going to say? Had Marcus succeeded in poisoning her mind completely? Was Lily going to tell the judge she wanted to live with her father? The thought made me want to vomit. Your Honor, with respect, Attorney Harrison's voice cut through the chaos. This child has clearly come here with purpose. This case concerns her future. We cannot simply ignore her. The judge raised his hand, his expression stern. Silence. Everyone. His voice echoed through the courtroom, immediately quieting all protests. He looked at Marcus and Attorney Sterling with a hard stare that stopped their objections cold. Then his gaze softened as he turned to Lily. Approach, child. Lily walked forward slowly, her small steps loud in the sudden quiet. She stopped between the two lawyers' tables, standing in the center of the courtroom, looking up at the judge on his high bench. Your Honor, Lily said, her voice trembling but clear enough for everyone to hear. I'm sorry for interrupting. It's okay, sweetheart, the judge said, his tone gentler now, almost paternal. Why are you here? Who brought you? I came by myself. My teacher helped me get a ride. But I snuck in. I heard my daddy say that my mommy is bad. Marcus's eyes went wide with panic. Lily, you need to stop talking right now. Mr. Mitchell, sit down and be silent, or I will hold you in contempt, the judge commanded sharply. Marcus slumped back into his chair, his face ashen. I covered my mouth, tears streaming down. Lily swallowed hard, gathering courage. She looked at the judge with those pure, innocent eyes that showed nothing but sincerity. Daddy said Mommy gets angry a lot. Daddy said Mommy can't take care of me. Daddy said Mommy is sick. Her voice wavered slightly. I closed my eyes. This was it. This was how it would end. Lily was going to repeat all of Marcus's lies, all his poisonous words. But then, Lily said something that made my eyes fly open. But can I show you something? Something my mommy doesn't know about? That phrase hung in the air. Something my mommy doesn't know about. What did she mean? Attorney Sterling jumped up again. Your Honor, this is absurd. Whatever recording or evidence this child might have cannot possibly be admissible. This is invasion of privacy recorded without consent. That recording might prove your expert witness is a fraud, Counselor. Attorney Harrison shot back sharply. Enough arguing. The judge banged his gavel, his eyes now intensely focused. He sensed something important was about to be revealed. Bailiff, assist the child. What does she have? Lily reached into her small backpack and pulled out something I recognized immediately. My heart stopped. It was her old tablet. The broken one, with the cracked screen. The one she'd been hiding under her pillow. This one, Your Honor, Lily said softly, holding it up. Connect that device to the courtroom monitors immediately, the judge ordered. No, Marcus screamed. desperation replacing all pretense of calm. He gripped the table edge, his knuckles white. I object, Your Honor, this is a setup. Your objection is noted and overruled, Mr. Mitchell. Now sit down. The judge's voice was ice. A court clerk hurried forward, carefully taking the cracked tablet from Lily's small hands. He worked quickly, finding a cable, and moments later the large monitors on the courtroom walls flickered to life, showing the tablet's home screen. Marcus covered his face with his hands. Behind him, Brooke was shaking visibly, her professional composure cracking. Lily stood next to the clerk, looking at the screen. She pointed to a video file in the gallery. This one. Go ahead, sweetheart, the judge said gently. Play it. Lily's small finger reached out and pressed play. The monitor filled with shaky footage, the angle low and tilted, as if recorded from behind something. I recognized it immediately. Our living room. The angle was from behind the large potted plant in the corner, where Lily liked to hide during hide and seek. Then two figures entered the frame, Marcus and Brooke. Not the professional Dr. Henderson from court, but Brooke in casual clothes, her hair down, looking comfortable and intimate. Marcus walked up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, kissed her neck. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. I couldn't breathe. The perfume, my suspicions, everything had been true. The woman who'd given false testimony to destroy me was the same woman sleeping with my husband in my house. Attorney Sterling stared at the monitor, his mouth open in horror. He turned to Marcus with a look that said, "You never told me this." In the gallery, Brooke tried to shrink into her seat, covering her face with her hands. Then the audio kicked in clearly. Brooke's voice. Are you sure your plan will work? Your wife is so stupid. Marcus's voice, laughing. Stupid and submissive. She won't suspect anything. All the money's already been transferred to your account, baby. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My money. Our joint account. He transferred it all to Brooke. Oh God. Attorney Harrison whispered beside me, his eyes fixed on the screen. The video continued. Marcus pulled Brooke onto the couch, onto his lap. They were kissing, intimate, comfortable. This wasn't a new relationship. This had been going on for a while. Marcus's voice on the video. Once the ruling comes down tomorrow, I'll officially get custody of Lily. We'll sell this hellhole of a house immediately and move to Europe, far away from her. Brooke's voice, playful. What about Lily? She seems pretty attached to her mother. This was the part that hurt me most. I held my breath, waiting for Marcus's answer. Marcus's voice, dismissive and cruel. The kid's easy to handle. Just give her some new toys and she'll forget about Lauren. You'll be her new mother. A smarter, more successful, much-sex mother. He kissed Brooke passionately on the video. Turn it off, Marcus roared, jumping from his chair, trying to rush toward the clerk's table to stop the video. This is fake. It's manipulated. Officers, restrain him! The judge shouted, his face red with fury. The two bailiffs moved immediately, grabbing Marcus before he could reach the monitor. They bent his arms behind his back, restraining him. Marcus struggled like a trapped animal. Let me go! This isn't real. It's edited. Silence him or I'll have him gagged, the judge ordered. But the video wasn't finished. Now it was Brooke's turn to speak. Brooke's voice on video. I'm still a little worried. What about my testimony as a psychologist? What if her lawyer challenges my observations? Marcus's voice, laughing again. I already prepared for that. I recorded Lauren last week when she had a breakdown. Remember? I provoked her until she screamed and cried. I got perfect photos. I'll provoke her again at trial. She'll explode in front of the judge. She'll scream and cry and look crazy. Once she gets hysterical in court, your testimony will look perfect. The judge will see for himself that she's unstable. No one will question Dr. Henderson, the professional. I was sobbing now. The photo he'd shown in court, the one where I looked unhinged, he'd deliberately provoked me, insulted me, broken me down, just to photograph my pain. The video showed Marcus and Brooke toasting with wine glasses, laughing together about their perfect plan. Then it ended. The screen went black. The courtroom remained silent for several heartbeats. The only sounds were my sobbing Marcus's heavy breathing under the bailiff's control, and the stunned whispers starting to ripple through the gallery. Everyone in that room had just witnessed a carefully orchestrated conspiracy, fraud, perjury, theft, manipulation of the court system, all of it exposed by a 7-year-old girl's broken tablet. In the gallery, people began turning, looking for Brooke. There, that's her, that's the woman from the video. Brooke realized she was exposed, completely and utterly. In panic, she jumped from her seat and ran toward the back exit, trying to escape. Lily, the little hero who had just played the video, turned her head. She didn't look at her father, who was being restrained. She looked at me. Her pure, innocent eyes met mine, which were filled with tears of relief and gratitude and overwhelming love. The judge, his face crimson with rage, raised his gavel high. He didn't tap it gently. He slammed it down on his desk with a thunderous bang. Silence. This court will come to order. Officers, seal all exits. No one leaves this courtroom. Arrest that woman, Dr. Brooke Henderson, immediately. The courtroom exploded into controlled chaos. The bailiffs who had been restraining Marcus now dragged him to a seat and handcuffed him to the chair. Marcus wasn't screaming anymore. He was just staring ahead, gasping, his expensive suit soaked with sweat. He knew it was over. At the back door, Brooke couldn't open the heavy sealed exit. She pulled and pushed frantically. A female officer intercepted her quickly. Brooke collapsed to her knees, her professional mask completely shattered. She was no longer the calm, credible psychologist. She was just a terrified woman crying hysterically, the exact image she'd used to frame me. In her fake testimony, karma had arrived swiftly and without mercy. "Bring her forward," the judge commanded, his voice cold and unforgiving. The officers dragged the sobbing Brooke to the front of the courtroom and placed her in the witness stand, where she'd sat so confidently before. Now it felt like a defendant's dock. Across the room, Attorney Sterling looked like he was melting. His face was pale, his expensive tie crooked. He didn't look at the judge. He stared at the papers in front of him, knowing his career had just been destroyed. He might not have known about the affair, but he'd knowingly presented manipulated evidence and coached false testimony. He was implicated, and he knew it. I was still sitting watching this scene unfold like a surreal movie. My sobs had quieted, replaced by stunned shock. Beside me, Attorney Harrison gave my shoulder a gentle pat, but his eyes remained fixed on the judge, ready for the final blow. Lily stood quietly near the clerk, the center of calm in the storm. She only watched me, as if making sure I was okay. The judge took a deep breath, smoothed his robe and looked at Marcus, then Brooke, then Attorney Sterling. His expression was granite. "Mr. Marcus Mitchell," the judge began, his voice quiet but terrifying. "That video is property of your daughter, recorded in your own home. Do you still wish to claim it's fabricated?" Marcus raised his head, his face empty, defeated. She set me up," he muttered weakly. It was a pathetic last attempt. "That woman, Brooke, she planned everything. She seduced me." "Liar," Brooke screamed immediately. "You told me to do it. You said you'd marry me. You said you'd transfer all the money to my account. I did this for you." Silence. The judge's gavel crashed down again. "Both of you are equally guilty. Your confessions have been recorded in this court's official record." He turned to Brooke, his eyes like steel. "Miss Brooke Henderson, you sat in that witness stand, under oath, and gave false testimony. You used your professional credentials to destroy a mother's life and aid in a criminal conspiracy. You didn't just violate your code of ethics, you committed perjury before this court." Then he looked at Attorney Sterling, who seemed to shrink under the gaze. "And Attorney Sterling, did you know Or should you have known that the evidence you presented, including this expert testimony, was fabricated? You deliberately provoked the witness during cross-examination to fit your client's false narrative. You have disgraced this profession. I will personally see to it that the Ethics Committee reviews your license. Attorney Sterling bowed his head, unable to speak. Finally, the judge turned his full attention to Marcus. His gaze was so intense it seemed to burn. Mr. Marcus Mitchell, you came into this courtroom demanding justice. You accused your wife of failure, of instability. You demanded her assets. And most heinous of all, you sought to separate a child from her mother. The judge lifted Marcus's thick petition file and held it up. Let's review your petition, shall we? First, the accusation that your wife failed in household duties. Proven false. The video we just witnessed demonstrates you conspired to defame her. He threw one page from the file to the floor. Second, the accusation that your wife was financially irresponsible. Proven false. The video contains your own confession that you stole money from your joint account and transferred it to your mistress. This isn't just defamation, this is theft. He threw another page to the floor. Third, the accusation that your wife was emotionally unstable, supported by expert testimony, proven to be a blatant fabrication. The video proves you conspired to provoke your wife, secretly recorded her distress, and used it to deceive this court. He threw the third page down. Your entire petition, the judge's voice rose, is a mountain of garbage built on lies, greed, and adultery. This court hereby dismisses in its entirety the divorce petition filed by Marcus Mitchell. The gavel struck hard, but the judge wasn't finished. He looked at Attorney Harrison and me. This court will not stop here. Based on this new irrefutable evidence, the court will now protect the victim. He raised one finger. 1. Full custody of the minor child, Lily, is granted unconditionally to her biological mother, Mrs. Lauren Mitchell. I gasped, unable to breathe. The tears now flowing were tears of relief. I looked at Lily, my beautiful, brave daughter. 2. The judge continued. Mr. Mitchell's divorce petition has been dismissed. However, the court suggests that Mrs. Mitchell file a counter petition immediately. Mrs. Mitchell, do you wish to divorce your husband? Attorney Harrison leaned close. Say yes, he whispered. I found my voice, trembling but firm. I looked directly at Marcus, who sat defeated, his head bowed. Yes, Your Honor. I want a divorce. Granted, the judge declared. This court grants divorce to Mrs. Lauren Mitchell on grounds of adultery and fraud by her husband. Full custody to Mrs. Mitchell. 3. The judge stood up now, his voice resonating through the entire room. All assets in the names of Marcus Mitchell and Brooke Henderson are hereby frozen immediately. The court orders a full forensic investigation to trace all funds stolen from Mrs. Mitchell. The house currently occupied is declared the sole property of Mrs. Lauren Mitchell and her daughter Lily. And 4. The judge's voice now carried the weight of absolute authority. Based on the video evidence and confessions made in this courtroom, I order the immediate arrest of Marcus Mitchell and Brooke Henderson for multiple criminal offenses, including conspiracy to commit fraud, perjury, domestic theft, and tampering with evidence in a court of law. Take them away. The bailiffs immediately moved to handcuff Marcus. The man who had walked into the courtroom that morning with arrogance was now led out in handcuffs, his head down. As he passed me, he didn't dare look me in the eye. Brooke was also handcuffed. Her screams had died down, leaving only a puffy, tear-stained face. She was led away, her career, her freedom, everything gone in an instant. I remained sitting, trembling all over. Attorney Harrison was smiling ear to ear. We won, Lauren. We won. I couldn't speak. I simply stood up and walked slowly toward the center of the room. Lily ran to me. I dropped to my knees and pulled her into my arms, hugging her with every ounce of strength I had, crying onto her small shoulder, not tears of sadness, but tears of a mother saved by her little hero. Thank you, I whispered into her hair. Thank you, baby. Thank you for saving me. Lily hugged me back just as tightly. I love you, Mommy. You're not bad. You're the best mommy in the whole world. 3 months later, the sound of children's laughter filled a small sunny park. I sat on a bench, watching Lily on the swings, her blonde hair flying behind her as she pumped her legs higher and higher. The weight that had pressed on my chest for so long was finally gone. I could breathe again. We'd moved. Not to another massive house, but to a cozy 3-bedroom apartment in a good neighborhood near Lily's school. It was filled with photos of the two of us, decorated with warm colors and comfortable furniture. It smelled like the cookies we'd baked together that morning. It was small, but it was ours, and it was perfect. I'd started a small catering business from home. The cooking skills Marcus had always belittled were now earning me praise and a steady income. Orders were coming in. I was busy, exhausted most days, but I was happy. I was independent. I was free. The aftermath had been swift and severe. Marcus was sentenced to 12 years in prison for fraud, theft, perjury, and conspiracy. Brooke, whose psychology credentials were real but criminally misused, received 8 years and her license was permanently revoked. Attorney Sterling was disbarred and faced criminal charges for his role in the conspiracy. Justice had been served in full. "Mommy, look how high I'm going," Lily called out, her voice filled with joy. "I see you, baby. You're amazing." Lily jumped off the swing and ran over. Her cheeks flushed from playing. She plopped down on the bench next to me, catching her breath. There was a question I'd never had the chance to ask calmly. Now seemed like the right time. "Princess," I began softly, "can I ask you something?" "Sure, Mommy." The video on the old tablet. "Why did you record it?" Lily was quiet for a moment, remembering. "Because I didn't like Miss Brooke." "Why didn't you like her?" "She pretended to be nice to you at the store once. But when you went to the bathroom, she told Daddy, 'Your wife takes forever.' And at the park, she saw me fall off the slide but told Daddy you weren't watching me. But you were watching me, Mommy. You came running right away." She was lying. My heart swelled. My perceptive, intelligent daughter had seen through Brooke's act from the beginning. "And that night," Lily continued, "Daddy said he was working late. But I heard his car come back early. I wanted to show him my drawing, but when I went downstairs I saw Daddy come in with Miss Brooke. He hugged her and kissed her. It scared me, so I hid behind the big plant." "So you recorded from there?" "Yes. I used the old tablet because I remembered you told me once that if bad people do something, you need proof. I had the old tablet with me, so I pressed record." Tears filled my eyes. I'd forgotten I'd said that, probably during some conversation about stranger danger or school safety. But Lily had remembered. "But sweetheart," I asked the most important question. "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you keep it secret?" Lily looked down at her hands. "Because Daddy said in the video that Mommy shouldn't know. He said she won't suspect anything. I thought it was a big secret and Daddy would be really mad if I told you." It was the pure logic of a child. She'd witnessed her father's crimes, but kept them secret because her own father had said Mommy shouldn't know. "So why did you show it in court?" Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Because the judge was going to take me away from you. Daddy kept saying you were bad. And Miss Brooke said you were bad too. But that's not true. You're not bad, Mommy. You're the best mommy ever." So I had to show the judge that Daddy and Miss Brooke were the bad ones. Not you. I couldn't hold back anymore. I pulled Lily into my arms and cried tears of joy and overwhelming love. For months I'd suffered under Marcus's accusations that I was a failed mother. I doubted myself, felt destroyed, believed I wasn't enough. But here in my arms was the strongest proof that I hadn't failed at all. I'd raised an incredible daughter, a girl with a pure heart, sharp observation skills, the courage to act when it mattered most, and an unshakable sense of right and wrong. "Thank you, my brave girl," I whispered. "Thank you for saving Mommy. I love you, Mommy. I love you too, Lily. So much." I released the hug and looked at her bright, smiling face. The sun was setting behind us, casting golden light across the park. Lily ran back to the swings, her laughter echoing in the evening air. I sat on that bench, watching my daughter play, and realized something profound. I hadn't failed. I had never failed. I had just been raising a hero all along. And now, we were both free to begin again.